Hello, and welcome to Your Daily Balance, Idaho Central Credit Union's video podcast, where we're here to bring you tips and tricks to helping you on your way to achieving financial success. And October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and so we're here to talk with one of the best around, I'd say the best around.
You are too kind.
Nick Stafford. He's our Chief Security Officer at Idaho Central Credit Union. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, back for another year.
I know. This is great. This is our first like duplicate episode, but there's always new things. So we got to
always
keep it fresh.
For sure.
So Nick, tell us about your position at Idaho Central and how long you've been here.
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Security Officer here at ICCU. That role has me managing both the cybersecurity and the information security side of the house, as well as the physical security side of the house. I've been here a little over 3 years now. It's been a phenomenal experience to be here at ICCU serving our members.
Yeah. And we love having you because this is something that we take so seriously as a credit union. Cybersecurity, I mean, a lot of companies take this very seriously, but we really put a lot of effort and people and all of that into it. So we're going to be talking about keeping yourself cyber safe. And one of the things, and one of the reasons we would do a duplicate episode is because things are constantly changing. Scammers are constantly evolving. And so we wanted to talk about what are some ways that people, and what are some things that people can do to keep themselves cyber safe.
Yeah, you know, the first thing that I always talk to people about is to wear the tinfoil hat. Everybody kind of makes fun of cybersecurity people because they have that stereotype about us, but everybody needs to in the digital era. And the reason is because the bad guys, the adversaries, the scammers, they're after everyone. They're after everyone indiscriminately. And really the best way to stay safe is to be vigilant, is to be suspicious of anything that comes in. And particularly when it's dealing with your financial institution, like if you get a message that looks like it might be from ICCU, the best way to deal with it is not to click on any links, is to, if you have questions or concerns, is to call in or reach out to your local branch.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have had reports of people that would say something like, you know, I got this text. It looks like it could be something from Idaho Central Credit Union. What do I do? Yeah.
And the answer is, wear your suspicion heavily. If it doesn't look like something that you would be expecting from ICCU, in most cases, that's going to be fraud. And if it has some uncertainty to it and you're not sure, again, the right answer is call the MSC or check in with the video service center or check in with one of our branches, and they'll help you identify whether or not that message is true or real or not.
Yeah. And when you say call into the VSC or the call center, one of the keys there, and I've heard this time and time again, is to actually go to on your own, not through the text or through the information that you're looking at, but on your own, go to Idaho Central Credit Union's website, get that number from there directly, right? Don't just assume that it says contact us and be like, oh yeah, I'm contacting them. Yeah,
and that's an important catch. You're wearing your tinfoil hat, Laura. I'm impressed. One of the things that the fraudsters often do is they'll include their own contact information in these messages. So whether it's a link in a text or contact information in an email, you always want to go to the origin site or go to iccu.com directly and then engage with us that way to make sure you're getting the right phone numbers and contact information there, because a lot of times the scammers will put their own information in there, and that's a part of the scam.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other things too, we like people to report that, right?
Oh, we totally do. In fact, it's not just that we like it. It's an important part of our defense technology. What happens when a member reports an abusive message or a fraudulent message, it goes into our abuse inbox, and that automatically gets forwarded off to our industry-leading partners who help us take down the domains and the websites that these fraudsters are posting up to steal credentials from our members. So it's actually a very important part of our strategy.
Yeah. And at Idaho Central, we tell people to take a screenshot and send it to abuse@iccu.com. Is that the best? That's the best.
Yeah. If it's an email, obviously just forward that into abuse@iccu.com. And if it's a text message, then do a screenshot and go into email and then send that screenshot into abuse@iccu.com. And our service providers are able to distinguish between both of them and then use all of those mechanisms to take down these websites.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the motives of the scammers. Like, why do they do this? And, what makes this, something that there's so much of going on?
Sure. Really, the answer is money. In almost all cases, the motive comes back to the scammers are out trying to make money. There may be some political aspects to it, maybe nation state level types of attacks. That doesn't very much happen with financial institution members. But in general, the primary impetus behind these scams is they're after money. They're trying to get people to give them their private information, so then they can turn that around and then monetize it.
Yeah. And I think one thing that people should be aware of is that we do so much online, right? And I mean, we have different accounts for all kinds of different, I don't know, places that you're buying things, places that you're researching things, whatever the case is. And there's just so much information there. What are some ways that people can increase their online security or improve their online security for themselves? Because it's really all the things, right? Yeah,
no, it totally is. One of the first things we always try to advise people on is to use a password manager. And just to illustrate, I was in Google. In my password manager, I use Google on one of my services for some of my personal functions, and I've got over 450 passwords stored in Google.
Yeah,
there's no way I could remember all those passwords.
No, people cannot remember that many passwords.
I can't. Now maybe well, I can't maybe some of the brighter of us can, but I can't. And what tends to happen is people tend to reuse passwords when they can't remember all of them. And since all of us are using dozens or hundreds or even maybe thousands of online services, that password can get reused many times. What ends up happening is one of those services will eventually get breached. Those credentials will then be lost, and then they'll be sold on the dark web. And then there's services on the dark web that allow people to buy credential breaches and plug those credentials in. And then the services will test them out against 10,000 websites to see which ones they're able to log into.
Yeah.
So that's one of the means by which bad guys can gain access to your information. And really the easy answer is you use a password manager to help manage that.
So that you use different passwords on all your different systems.
Yep, different complex passwords.
How do you find a password manager? I mean, I know you're the expert. So, I just don't, how do you find a password manager and how do you make sure you're using it correctly?
Sure.
And this is more for personal things that I'm talking about.
Yeah. We don't have any one in particular that we endorse. There's a number of open and free password managers out there. Both Apple and Google have them. Everybody has a mobile phone. So those are usually the easy ones to start off with. There's more complex password managers out there that allow you to maybe share passwords amongst different groups of people, for example, for at work. Those are commercial versions. And there's a number of those out there as well. But really the one, I think the password managers that most people associate with are the ones that are available on their mobile phones.
Got it. The other one that we should talk about is card control. We think about card control sometimes as just getting, updates when we're swiping our card and things like that, but that can be a huge fraud deterrent, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be able to understand when your card's being used. And the other big part of it too is to be able to manage that in the event that you think you've maybe lost your card or that it may have been stolen or compromised. You have at your fingertips the ability to get in and manage it almost instantly without having to wait online. Yeah.
And it's fast. I mean, when you swipe your card, like on your phone or on your watch or wherever you have it set up, you're getting those alerts and it's saying your card was swiped at XYZ place.
Yep. The best way to know it's you.
Yeah. And if it wasn't you,
then
you're aware,
then you're aware, and awareness drives. Awareness is really again half the battle. Being aware of it, and then is half of it, and then doing the right things is the other half.
Yep.
But card control and getting those notifications can be a really strong way of knowing that your finances, what's happening with your accounts.
Yeah, and that you've authorized those things to happen.
Exactly.
Yep. The other thing too is with card control. I mean, if you ever did see something that wasn't quite right, you can turn your card right off and call us right away.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the other big advantage of it is you've got that at your fingertips. You don't have to wait. You don't have to sit online or especially if you're traveling, for example, in different time zones, it's all available at your fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's free.
And it's free, right? I mean, it's all a part of being a member of ICCU.
Yeah, that's amazing. And another thing that we should mention here is my credit. I mean, when you're talking about fraud or things that could happen, if you're keeping an eye on your credit report and making sure that the things that are on there are things that you've authorized.
Yeah, that's one of the more powerful things that you can do to protect yourself is to make sure that that you understand what's happening with your credit. With your credit, it's fair to say that everybody's identity has been compromised multiple times. There've been dozens and dozens and dozens of breaches, throughout the past 25 years, where identities are very likely stolen. So it's best to assume that your identity's out there in a number of different repositories in the dark web. One of the best ways to protect yourself is to just be vigilant and watch, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that you understand, what's going on with your credit. And if you see something pop up that you didn't set up, well, that's a good sign that you need to get on that right away.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about password managers, but also multi-factor authentication.
Oh, the big nerd word.
MFA.
Yeah, the big nerd word. Yep.
I know. I did have to practice that several years ago. I'm now because, but I mean, it's a big word. But let's talk about what multi-factor authentication means and how people can be using that to really protect themselves.
Yeah. So the concept is that in single-factor authentication, you have a user ID and a password. Right? That's a single factor. That's all you have. In multi-factor authentication, you have yet another factor, and that factor is often something you have. So if you think about the strongest forms of multi-factor authentication, we call it something you know, which is a password, and then something you have, which might be a phone or a token or a fob. Okay. Those are very powerful means of authenticating somebody. And one of the other things that we recommend to everybody is MFA should be turned on just about everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially everywhere it's important. What many don't do is turn on multi-factor authentication on their email. But interestingly enough, your email is a lot of times where you can go to reset an account for either your bank, your financial institution, your 401k, any of your retail services. In many cases, if it's I forgot my password, that password reset link gets sent to your email. So if your email is not well protected, that can be the means by which fraudsters break into a lot of other areas. Yeah.
So it's important to, again, be making sure that all of your passwords are secure in all of those different places.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's talk about any new scams that people should be aware of. Are there some things that are,
Yeah, I think the thing that we've seen really over the past year and a half, we've seen a fairly significant transition from email phishing scams, which are fairly traditional, to text phishing scams. And it makes a lot of sense. The fraudsters are looking for the path of least resistance. They're looking for the thing that gets them the most clicks. Most people don't pay near as much attention to their email as they pay to their text messaging. And as a result of that, a lot of organizations have started sending text messages for updates that are important for people to sign up for. So thus the fraudsters are following along. And they're starting to send a significant portion of their messaging and their fraudulent messages through a text message. Really what they're trying to do is get an emotional response. They're trying to get somebody afraid that something bad's going on. In almost all cases with a financial institution, the message will say something bad has happened and you need to click this link now in order to deal with it. Yeah. And that's where we go back to wear that tinfoil hat. Be hyper vigilant, be suspicious of everything. If you're getting messaging like that, and it's very likely to be fraud. So if it's something that you're not sure about, be sure and contact us because we can help you filter that out.
Yeah. And some other tips I've heard along the way are, if there's things that are misspelled in there, if there's weird links that don't look right, if it is like trying to get you to do something quickly or make you fearful in some way, those are also other tactics that are used in these scams too, because it makes you feel like I better jump on this right now before I have a chance to think this through.
Yeah, you still see a lot of that. Although with AI and with like ChatGPT, for example, the messaging has gotten a lot more effective, believe it or not. In many cases, the messaging was written by people, for example, who had English as a second language. So the English was a little bit choppy. It was a little bit easier to identify. That's becoming a little less so now. The messaging is actually getting pretty clear and pretty effective. But what you tend to still see is that when you do go to these links, they're really not the ICCU site. It'll be bobshamburgers.com/ICCU. That's obviously a dead giveaway that you're going to a fraudulent site and you should stop.
That's what I was going to say. If you've clicked on something, because obviously the first thing is stop, don't click on it, don't take action. But if you do, because you're like, oh man, that seems like oh gosh, this is wrong. I shouldn't be here. What do you do then? Like, what do you do to back yourself out of that?
Well, step one is you, in many cases, just by clicking that link, you've signaled to the fraudsters that you're likely to click on links because they'll send individuals unique links. So they understand who's likely to click versus who's not. So just be hyper vigilant on the go forward for sure. But in most cases, if you haven't keyed anything in, if you haven't put in your credentials, then you're safe. If you have keyed in your credentials, then it's likely that you would consider that your credentials are compromised. You would want to go in and change your user ID and password, and then contact your financial institution, contact ICCU or whatever it was that you keyed those credentials in for, to make sure that everything else is in order. But that would be the steps: is make sure that you change your password immediately, and then contact your financial institution.
Yeah. Are there any other updates or any other pieces of information that you think people need to know, or did we hit it pretty hard today?
I think we hit it pretty hard. Gosh, I think, the big thing that I really just want to make sure everybody's aware of is that this is an era where we have to be hyper vigilant. The fraudsters are getting more and more effective in how they communicate and how they attempt to trick people, we call it social engineering in our world. And as a result of that, citizens are going to have to become more effective and more sophisticated in understanding what that looks like, so they can distinguish that from good, healthy messaging. So that's always the balance that we kind of play in this space.
Yeah, and it's not something people should be scared of. They should just be aware of it.
Absolutely. The reality is the digital world is a safe place for us to be. ICCU's there. We've been there for a long time. We've been protecting our members there for a long time. Really the most important thing is like electricity or playing around with bandsaws. Know how to use them safely, and you'll be fine. It's when you're not careful and when you're not cognizant, when you're not being suspicious, when you're not being vigilant, that's when you tend to run the risk of injury. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nick. I think this was super helpful. And it, really went over some ways that we can protect ourselves and watch out for things that could be coming at us. So for more information, visit our security center at iccu.com/security. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified of future episodes. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.